campaign was genius.
Yeah.
That man made himself palatable to people, even though everything he's talking about will destroy New York City.
So I basically cancelled myself.
What's happening to men relative to women? Are the women doing it to the men or the men doing it to themselves? What's going on here?
You cannot sustain a society where you have the men afraid to even fight back. I know many people like that. CNN said it, it must be true. The news said it, the news wouldn't lie.
Men just need to sort of deep dive into themselves. Don't allow yourself to escape, because escapism is extremely toxic. You will find a good woman, but you need to be a good man first.
For the first time in history, our generation of men is weaker on virtually every scale than their grandfather. Wages have gone down. They peaked in 1971 and they've decreased by 13% by the average male worker.
I'm just protective of the West. I'm protective of America. I'm protective of the United Kingdom and Europe. I've just been watching it disintegrate.
You cannot be a rational person with an IQ above 70 and actually believe the things that a lot of these people believe. It's impossible. You cannot be.
Joey, Jade, thanks for joining us.
Thanks
It's
for having
Christmas time. It's an exciting time for most of the world, but not all of it. Unfortunately, Christmas markets across Europe have risen in cost 44%. Why? Well, in 2016, Anis Amri, a Tunisian migrant and Islamist extremist, drove a car into the market in Breitscheidsplatz and killed 14 people. Then, last year, Talib al-Abdul Mohsen did the same thing in Magdeburg and killed 6 people. Smaller towns can now no longer afford the security that's required to keep these safe. What's going on here?
We know what's going on. What's going on is the same thing that's going on all over Europe, is that they've invited people who hate Europe, who hate Christian culture, who hate the people of Europe, and they're just letting them come in and do whatever they want. Part of what they want is to drive cars through Christmas markets and run people over. So we've seen the videos of these Christmas markets. It looks like you're going into an airport. I was in Winter Wonderland in London last week. They had to wand me down. I said, wow, this is very festive. And it's just not how it's supposed to be. It's not how it used to be. I went 10 years ago to Winter Wonderland in London. They didn't wand me. Probably they should have, but they didn't. I'm going next week to Poland. I see the videos in Poland. They're beautiful. Nobody's getting wanded down. Why? They're not allowing in the trash of the horrible places that have been let into Germany, London, and all these other places. So you allow people who hate you in. You have to do things to protect against them. And now I guess it's making sure a Mercedes Sprinter doesn't run down 10 people while they're trying to enjoy mulled wine and sing festive tunes. It's horrible.
You said last week in a tweet, if you know that one of the 10 cars in your garage will explode if you start it, you don't start any of them.
You don't.
This is a post about immigration.
It is. It is 100% about immigration, because if you let people in which Europe has done more than even America did, right? America, they had an open border. Nobody really knew who was coming in. Europe knows very well. It's very conscious what they're doing.
Middle East and North Africa.
They're doing it 100% consciously. And they're letting anybody in. They don't vet them. So they say, oh, but they're good people. Most of them are good people. Cool. If one of them is going to strap on a suicide vest and walk into a Christmas market, maybe let's just keep everybody out until we can figure out who of those 10 people are going to do the suicide bombing. Guess what? We'll never know who it is. You have enough people already in Europe, okay? You don't need to take on burdens. These are burdens. They're not adding anything except danger and terror.
Jade, thoughts on this?
That's such a mic drop. Yes, well, how can you expect the small villages and towns to afford bollards, steel posts, vehicle blocking systems, a lot of technology and security clearances that go into these markets? It's like advancing a location for, a high-profile A-lister artist. It's impossible for them with their budgets. And I think Joey's absolutely right. We have to be extremely careful who we let into Europe, because the common denominator is they hate us and they want to unalive us.
So you have a perspective on this because obviously you're an immigrant to the US.
Yes.
Joey just mentioned that we haven't let in nearly as much of them in the US as they have over there. At what point are they too far gone? Are we past that point?
I don't think we're past that point. We're getting close to it, and something needs to be done sooner rather than later. It's easier in Europe because it's connected to, Africa and the Middle East. So there's a very easy way they could just walk. Whereas America, you have to fly over, you have to walk across. So it's a little different. Yeah.
your analysis of that. At which point do we reach a point where it's too far gone? Some people have
Are we
said
talking
London's
about
over.
America?
We're talking about Europe first. I don't think we've reached there in America yet, but in London, I was in London last week with you. You were mentioning that it's a little bit different over there than it is here. At which point do we say London's gone?
We're very close to saying London's gone. I mean, the problem is you have a mayor who completely is on the side of the terrorists. You have a home secretary who literally comes from the place of the terrorists.
Mahmoud.
So, yeah, Shabana Mahmood. If you have a home secretary of the United Kingdom with the name Shabana Mahmood, you're too far gone. So, I don't know what it's going to take. They have an election coming up in 2029. How do they make it another 5 years? How do they make it another 2 years? Every day, more people come. Every day, more horrible things happen. The raping, the grooming gangs, it's never ending. So I don't know if you can say too far gone. There's always a solution. It's not a pretty solution. I mean, remigration is the moderate option. There's other solutions too.
What are you thinking?
I'm not going to say. But what I'm thinking is something that nobody has the potential to do in this current climate. But that's what people want. People want a very radical solution. Remigration is the most moderate position that anybody could take. It's if you don't want to live here and you don't want to abide by the laws, you go home. That's the most common sense thing. I wouldn't move to Saudi Arabia because I don't want to abide by the laws of Saudi Arabia. Guess what? I won't go there. I won't move to Somalia either because I don't want to live that lifestyle. So guess what? I don't go. Why would you come if you're from a place that you hate? Why would you come to our places and just decide to do whatever you want? Why would you do that?
There's you probably heard of the Scottish Korean Ryan Williams. He said to me on the show, he mentioned there's 50 Muslim nations in the world. Why would you move to America or the UK if you want to live under Sharia law? And I thought that was very intriguing. But I think it's also part of the plan too, which is expand the caliphate, right? At the end of the day, their culture and their religion are somewhat intertwined in that the goal is to expand those who believe what they believe, right? Surah 9:29 says, fight those who disbelieve. Wherever you find the disbelievers, the infidels, kill them, right? I'm wondering how much of this world are people that are just going about their lives and they're, let's say, culturally Muslim, and how many people believe vehemently in the Quran?
Yeah, I mean, I was just in Dearborn, Michigan, and I interviewed a number of Muslims there, and they were terribly wonderful, extremely kind to me, and I had a great time with them. And then there's the radical Islamic extremists, and unfortunately, they embed themselves in those communities and they spread their ideology like cancer. So yes, it is a stepping stone to Islamic extremism, but I don't want to just, attack an entire group like that. However, they do come from that religion. Yes.
Right. How do you know who lives on what side? The ones that are just culturally, hey, I'm culturally this. My mom and dad were Muslim. And then how do you know the ones that are the car in the garage?
It's hard to tell.
Any insight?
I was in Turkey very recently, and we were taking a tour around Istanbul. And we went into one of the mosques, and we walked out, and they were doing the call to prayer, the Allahu Akbar. And I turned to the tour guide. I said, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares about this. Why is that? And he goes, oh, yeah, we're not into all that. It's just something we hear all day. I said, really? I said, because the ones in Europe, they're sitting there praying in the middle of the roads. I mean, they literally block the roads praying. So I said, oh, wow, what's the difference? He's like, yeah, because the ones who are going to Europe are going to convert you. And this was a Muslim guy from Turkey, a tour guide from Airbnb. He wasn't a tour guide from a company. Nice
Plug in
guy, very
Airbnb.
honest. I was surprised he was so honest. But he's like, yeah, he goes, we're not into all that here. And you look at the statistics, I think only 8% of the Turkish want Sharia law. You look at the people in London, I think it's like 38% want Sharia law when you poll the Muslim community. So there is some sort of conquest. We used to have Christian missionaries, right? Except we were spreading the word of God. We were saying, let's heal each other, let's pray together, let's become Christian. They're coming over with a sword and saying, convert or off with the head. So it's a very interesting concept.
And not even that extreme. They're coming over and raping and murdering Western women.
Yes.
And what are the men in power doing about this?
They're enjoying it.
Yes.
They're enjoying watching
they're
this.
bought
I really
off.
believe that.
Why aren't women more vehemently against, more women I should say, more vehemently against this pillaging that we're seeing?
Women are traditionally more liberal Democrats. They lean that way. They're more emotional and empathetic, and that's what that party prioritizes is empathy and welcoming people and be nice and let people into your country. And so they prey on that weakness and strength that women have. It does take a more cold-hearted, stoic woman like me to be on the other side. And I'm very much hated for it. But unfortunately, someone has to stand up to this.
What's the problem with being a nice liberal woman that just wants everybody to have their way?
It's a cute idea.
Doesn't work in practice.
No, it's not
communism.
realistic. It's not realistic at all.
Okay.
Yeah, and they always they put men down and they're making men more feminine and they're not allowing men to be men and to protect us. They're like, oh, don't hold the door for me. Shut the fuck up. The reason why our countries were able to sustain as long as they did, the reason why you are safe to run your mouth today is because real men have protected you for centuries. And if we stop allowing that, we're going to see the after effect.
Absolutely.
You mentioned there the sort of feminization of men.
Mm-hmm.
This has been a big topic. We've seen people like Chris Williamson talk about this a lot, where men are becoming sort of what they might call soft boys, right? You talk a little bit about this in your content. Tell us about what's kind of happening in this landscape. Give us your kind of overview. I'd love to hear your thoughts too on this, Joey, as well. But what's happening to men relative to women? Are the women doing it to the men? Are the men doing it to themselves? What's going on here?
It's a bit of everything. Too many seed oils. Men need to eat healthier. They need to work out. Sorry, they need to not listen to women most of the time because women don't know what they're talking about. They're too emotional. And like I said, the feminism wave is extremely unhealthy. The first 2 to 3, fine, whatever. The last wave has gone way too far. So men need to stop watching porn and they need to go to the gym and focus on God and philosophy.
It's fascinating to watch. It's fascinating to watch if you look at the men of 60 years ago and the men of today, how different the people are now and how much the women kind of want them to be that way. At least they think so, but they don't actually want that. They don't actually want to live in that society where men are basically, they've been neutered. We've been neutered. And it's not normal. It's not right. And it's not a way to sustain a society. You cannot sustain a society where you have the men afraid to even fight back. Look at all these people in the United Kingdom, in Europe. All these women are being raped. And the men are sitting there, oh, yeah, well, whatever. They say the same crap as the women now. Oh, yeah, we have to be inclusive. Inclusive of what? Rapists?
So not just that, but the government will actually arrest men who try to protect the women who are being assaulted. In that moment, they won't arrest the assaulter.
Our government too, Daniel Penny. Remember him? I mean, he got off, right? They let him be innocent because he was a hero. He should have been given the keys to the city of New York. But this is what they do now. You cannot defend women. You cannot defend yourself. It's very terrible.
For a while, this kind of idea that men were getting softer was a little bit of a social feeling. But now we've got these statistics that show it's a little bit more a fact. For the first time in history, our generation of men is weaker on virtually every scale than their grandfathers. For example, in 1971, the average grip strength of a man was 119 pounds. Today, it's 98 pounds. Wages have gone down. They peaked in 1971, and they've decreased by 13% by the average male worker. Emotionally, more men are killing themselves today than in history. If we had kept the suicide rate at the year 2000 for men the same, there'd be 400,000 more men in America than there are today. And that's because of the rising rate of suicidal ideation. 1/3 of men in the last 12 months between the ages of 22 and 30 have not had sex.
What?
1/3 of men, that's up from 10% 10 years ago.
Wow.
Phenomenal. I think he's telling us that.
Yeah, he's telling us.
But 1/3 of men.
Yeah, it's 31%.
Wow.
31%. I'm rounding up.
Wow.
To the
Okay.
nearest third.
That's fascinating.
Wild. And what's interesting is you take a look at some of these pseudo statistics. If you go back to 1990, right? So not all the way back to, like, let's say, grandfathers. If you ask men, if you need help with a task, who do you call? Was it your friends, your family, your girlfriend? 52% of the time, men would typically call a friend first. That number has dropped to 26%. And what has increased? Family. And you think, okay, what's the problem with calling your family first? Well, 1 in 3 men now live at home with their parents under the age of 30. That's higher than any man that lives with a wife or a partner. So what you guys are talking about, this social cue, this social feeling, it's being backed up by statistics. And I'm wondering, you gave some answers before. go to church.
Yeah.
Lift weights. Eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Stop watching porn.
Stop watching porn. Read philosophy. I'd say The Art of War is also a good book to read. Men just need to sort of deep dive into themselves. Don't focus on the distractions that the world provides. Don't allow yourself to escape, because escapism is extremely toxic. You will find a good woman, but you need to be a good man first. And I can tell you, all the good women I know, they don't want the basement dwellers that live with their parents and bitch and moan about women and are weak. No, we want the strong, men.
The Chris Hemsworth types.
Yes. You can quote the Bible.
Yeah, John the Baptist. I've heard this one quote, kind of what you said. It's become the person that you want to date.
Yes.
If you write down a list of everything you want in a person, become that list, and you're going to find the person you want.
Yeah, just with the feminine or masculine traits. Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree.
We're on the same page. Let's back up a bit here. I want to know more about you two. You're both these independent journalists that have risen to sort of journalism stardom. Where did this start? What got you guys into this? We'll start with you, Joey.
So 10 years ago, I was working in radio, just regular music radio, and they started talking about the election one day. And they asked if we were voting for Hillary or Bernie, because Trump was not something that was an option at the station I worked at. It was an R&B radio station. Nobody wanted to hear about Donald Trump. And I said, I'm thinking about Trump. I wasn't just thinking. I'd already registered Republican for the first time. I was Democrat before, but I just said, let me say thinking. And it went as you expected. Now, we didn't know back then if you talked about Trump, if you talked about anything Republican, you would just be canceled off the face of the planet. So that's what happened. And I'm not one to stay silent, so I was talking about everything that went down. And the station didn't fire me, by the way, just to keep it clear. There was nobody listening to me anymore because the people didn't want to hear. No, seriously.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, I started talking about that. I started to be invited on a bunch of podcasts to discuss it. And one of the podcasts said, I'd like to hire you on to be our correspondent internationally. I was living in London at the time, going to school. And that's how it went. So I just have been doing this ever since. I do political consulting, I do fundraising, and this is now my life. And now I just keep doing it and keep trying to talk about true things because people listen. And I think it comes with some responsibility when people follow you and listen to what you have to say. So I feel some level of responsibility to make sure what I'm saying is true and what I'm saying actually makes a difference. Before I didn't really care, because when you have 100,000 or 200,000, you don't care. But when you have a lot, you have to take some care in what you're saying and to not put people in harm's way, because there's a lot of them, some friends of mine who do very reckless things. And I think that's pitiful. So I think it's very important to guide people to the right purpose, to do the right thing, to fight back, to take their countries back, to fight for the movement they want, but to do it in a way that doesn't make everybody look ridiculous.
And when you're talking about putting people in harm's way, are you talking about the typical inciting violence comments where you're saying that's what's got to be avoided?
You can even incite violence. Just don't make people look stupid. Don't make people look stupid. If you want to incite violence, there's a righteous time to do that at times, okay? But you cannot make people look stupid. You cannot just make up stuff. You cannot do ridiculous things.
Factually inaccurate, you can discredit the entire movement.
The entire movement. And we know people, I know people that we look at these things they do and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because that's, number one, either you're a psyop or number two, you're just crazy. And then people come to me and come to you and come to you and say, why are your people talking like this? Why are you saying this? Do you agree with that? And you want to agree with them because they're saying the right things, but you can't. So it's a responsibility to all of this.
Okay. So in that journey,
yeah,
was there a specific moment where you were like, this could be a lot bigger than I thought? For you personally, as a journalist?
No.
There's no one moment that jumped you to stardom?
Because I never did jump. I don't consider myself that I did. It's just slowly every year I grow more and more and more, and it just whatever. There's never been a moment where I blew up. There was never something I did. I don't even say I'm a journalist. I don't think.
What do you go as?
I don't know what I go as. I'm just me. I don't know, because I don't do journalism like that. They gave me a press pass at the Pentagon. I said, what the hell did I get that for? I mean, I hope they don't take it away because I'm saying that. But it's the truth. I don't do hard journalism. I don't report, I don't have sources. I don't do any of that stuff. I talk about the things I see and the things I think and the truth that I see. and I do so in a way that's honest, and people listen. But I don't know, the word journalist is. Are you a journalist? Do you think you're a journalist? I don't know.
I've been labeled an independent
they
journalist,
called me
but
that
I
too.
still, I'm like, oh. But to answer your question, I started talking about this stuff this year, actually
Wow.
only a couple of months ago. And in that time, I went from like 3,000 followers to, what am I, at 320,000 followers now? So mine really has blown up, and I haven't processed it yet. I'm still in shock. But
So what was life before this?
I mean, I always felt this way and thought this way, but I kept quiet because I worked in the entertainment industry in Los Angeles. It's very taboo to be even middle ground there. You have to be far left. So yeah, my agency was marketing me as a gender fluid, queer, lesbian thing. And that's
And you didn't identify that way.
I did not, but I
Okay.
had to say that on set. And whenever I went for an audition or a casting, you know, it felt wrong. It's compelled speech, and that has very negative effects on your brain. And I value my health and I value the truth over that. So I basically cancelled myself. And yeah, came out of the closet this year as a far right extremist, I guess.
And when did the move to DC occur? Shortly after that, I imagine.
Yeah, during that time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. And so you did not have a kind of in jumping moment in, let's just say, your following. You did have one. Do
But
you?
she's the best.
Oh,
Tell me
She's
more.
fantastic. No, when you said to me she's gonna be on, I said good because she's my favorite. She's the best.
You're my
What-
favorite.
It's all love in the room. What does Jade do so well that makes one, her following increase so much,
Yeah.
and then two, make you love her so much?
What she does so well is that she's funny, but not slapstick humor. So I can send it to people that are not agreeing with us, and they'll listen to it. She did this one about the Prophet Muhammad,
Oh God.
and it was incredible. I sent it to so many different people, and some people who think what I say is way too crazy because I'm very harsh. You're harsh, but you're not wicked.
I'm factually accurate.
Yeah.
I show receipts. With pretty much all my videos, legally vet them. I run them through an AI machine to make sure that I'm not going to get sued for slander, defamation, or anything like that. So there's really no arguing with my stuff unless it's one of my videos where I say, I'm starting a rumor, or here's my opinion, here's a joke, which has been taken the wrong way by several governments. We'll talk about that later.
Sure.
Yes.
So with this one that you mentioned about mentioning Prophet Muhammad, what happened there?
Which one was this? I've done a few.
The one that he was gay.
Did you say factual?
No, so that was one
He's
of my...
dead. He can't sue.
Yeah, you know, it's true. No, that was one of my like satire videos. And I said, I think that Sharia law is gay
Oh, I did see this
because
one.
you want to hide women and then you want to do the baka bazi thing, which is literally having sex with boys. That's literally gay. I don't know how you can argue against that.
13-year-old boy, still older than Aisha.
But that video got me. That video got me on the Muslim Brotherhood kill list. So, you know, is what it is.
Until you hit level 3, I hear you're safe.
Okay.
Okay, so this touches on something that might be a bit sensitive. Have you guys lost family or friends because of your views?
I don't know who I have left. No, seriously. The first 2 years was a shedding of everybody.
Wow.
Everybody who just could not stand me being involved and being vocal in politics of any kind. Now, if it was Hillary Clinton that I was with, I think it would have been fine. I was actually told by somebody who sung at one of the inaugurations, she was a good friend of mine, basically, shut up and you will, you can even go work at the White House. I can help you make that happen. And we used to do Thanksgiving together. We used to do Christmas together. Somebody who's very well connected in the Democrat circles. Obviously, she now thinks I want to kill her grandchildren because they're Muslim, which I don't. Obviously, they were my family. We were all like family. I would never want to hurt anybody, and I would never support a movement that did, right? But this is what they say now. So, yeah, I lost a lot of people, but you gain a lot of people.
So just on that, that's a pretty nice offer. If someone came to me and said, hey, you can work in the White House, you just got to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You must believe in what you're doing in this free speech pretty vehemently
What?
to turn down something like that.
Number one, I didn't really believe the offer either. It was kind of, I didn't believe she would get in. You can make me work in a place that's not going to exist. You work in the Clinton White House. I knew she wasn't going to win. I think everybody really had a pulse, said it's not going to happen.
You could have been the new Monica.
I don't want to be the new Monica.
Oh,
I'll take a
gosh.
Monica myself, but I don't need to be. What was I going to say? I was at the last rally of her in Philadelphia, the Clinton rally. We were front row. I went because I said, I want to see it. I want to see it. I had already known I was going to vote for Trump. I was already very vocal about Trump, but nobody knew who I was. So I said, let me go. We were front row at the Hillary rally, and I was watching all the people. And I'm like, wow, this is dead. This is dead. There's no inspiration here. There's no movement here. It was awful. And Tim Kaine with the booster sneakers walked out. It was a joke. And then you go to a Trump rally and there was energy off the walls. People had never been to something like that. There was never a movement like that. So, and actually, I never said that I was at that last Hillary rally, but I have the pictures to prove it. It was just horrible. And I said, wow, he's really going to win.
Wow.
And there was never much doubt. From August, I didn't have a doubt. August 2016, I knew he would win. I think that's when most people started to figure out that it was going to happen. So, no, there was never a chance for me to be a person with Clinton. Number one, my heart wasn't in it. I didn't want her. I didn't want that person to be the president of the United States. Before I voted Democrat, I voted for Obama. I voted for Obama. My first ever vote was for Barack Obama.
Okay.
And when Trump came along, he changed my mind. So,
Jade, same question. Anybody you've lost?
Yes.
This is much more recent for you.
Yes, much more recent. Several friends. I mean, I obviously lived in Los Angeles and Seattle for a while, so a couple of my friends there dropped off the scene, which is fine. And then family, I have a very small family, so I only lost one person, and that's due to the fact that they work in government in the United Kingdom, so they can't associate with someone like me. But yeah, which is a shame, but I respect their choice and what they have to do.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But actually, on that point of the Hillary Clinton thing, I moved to America that week where he had the first debate with her.
oh, wow.
And it was one of the first things I watched on American TV. I was like,
Welcome.
what is
Which
this
debate?
WWE shit?
Which debate?
Because you'd be in jail.
Oh, that was the best. Yeah.
And I watched it and I was like, okay, he's kind of funny and she's definitely a witch. Hillary Clinton is a witch. And that's kind of how I formed my American politics.
It was that easy. Okay, good
Am
stuff.
I wrong?
You are not wrong.
Starting a rumor
Witch is
today,
the
Hillary
wrong-
Clinton is a witch.
A demon. A demon. A demon.
Yes, sir.
Demon. That is far. Witch, demon witch.
Absolutely, she's a demon. I think the soul that woman has, the heart that she has, if she has one, wasn't it that she didn't talk to Bill for months until he agreed to bomb Serbia or something? There was some story, if you remember. There's a story out there that she wasn't speaking to him after the Monica situation because apparently she thought he was loyal and she found out he wasn't. And she didn't speak to him for about 2 months. And the reason they started speaking again was so that she could convince him to bomb some country. I don't remember which one. I believe it was Serbia.
Dang.
And this is an account that somebody said of the two of them. And just the Clinton kill list, all the years of scandal with
Yeah,
that
we need to
woman.
be careful on this subject right now.
Well, it's all right. I mean, there's no sniper outside. The blinds are down. But it's just horrible. It's horrible what that woman has done over the course of her career. I can't think of one good thing, but I can think of tons of just horrible things that she supported. The wars, the deaths. She laughed about the death of we came, we saw, he died, Gaddafi. That's not a person with a soul.
Okay.
Yeah.
So fame has come to you both in however sense you guys expect. You have a lot of following regardless. Erica Jong said this: fame means millions of people have a wrong idea of who you are. So what's the biggest misconception that you guys see about yourselves online?
Well, I mean, people call me racist and Islamophobic. I'd like to say, it's not phobia. I'm not scared of anything. It's just pattern recognition. I'm definitely not racist and Islamophobic. I'm just protective of the West. I'm protective of America because this is my home. I just became a citizen. I'm protective of the United Kingdom and Europe because I grew up there. And I've just been watching it disintegrate. And there's a common denominator. And calling it out makes you racist or Islamophobic. And okay, well then call me that, but I'm definitely not that.
Okay.
Just protective.
Joey?
I don't have an answer. I don't know. There's so many misconceptions that have been out over the
We'll
years.
take top 20.
Well, honestly, I read and people can think what they want. People can think what they want. I don't care. They really have their opinions and they'll continue to have their opinions. And I can correct every opinion. I mean, they say that I got married for a green card and all these fun facts about me. I mean, it's amazing the stuff that comes out. I laugh. I honestly, guilty. I love it. I find it really funny. It's
Yeah.
never hurt me. It's never actually done it. I mean, sometimes they try to get me arrested when I fly places and things like that. I'm on the lists places, but they never do because there's no crime. There's no, they try to have fun and they got my wife deported. They did do that. But it's all fun and games. It's all fun and games until they kill me.
Let's
Well,
hope
let's
not.
pray that doesn't happen.
Yes.
Does getting recognized in public happen frequently? And is it on the good side or the bad side?
I wouldn't say frequently. I'd say a couple times a month.
Mm.
And it's never, except for once, been on the bad side.
Okay.
Once in an airport, somebody stopped me and he said, "I'm one of the liberals you hate." And I said, "I don't hate you. Like, I don't even know you." He's like, "Well, I hate you." I said, "Oh, okay. Have a good flight." I didn't sleep on that flight, but it was very strange. And he looked exactly like you would imagine him. Skinny. He was very interested. He had a hat on. And I just said, "Wow, this is fascinating." But nothing came of it.
Okay. Jade?
Yeah, a couple of times a month, but that's because I'm in the circles and the locations where I think my videos are seen the most. Definitely in airports, that's where it happens. And so far, nothing negative. Yes. Well, okay, one in Dearborn. He recognized me, and then my security guard pulled me out.
Okay, good. Well, I'm
Because
glad you have security.
They wanted to unalive me. Get in line.
So, covering things, you actually saw some pretty big names in this last week here in DC. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing here and anything that you can share that's allowable. Share with us.
Yeah, so they had New Media Week at the Pentagon. So what happened was the Pentagon press corps were all given a form to sign that essentially said, if you report unclassified information, you can't report here. And you can't just wait outside people's doors. So they used to wait outside the doors of 4-star generals and rush them for information and try to get them to say all this stuff. And they basically said, look, you cannot have free roam access to the building where you can stand outside and ambush people who are holding classified national security secrets. They didn't want to sign it. So all of them, I think, except for one, walked off the job. And what they decided to do, Joel Valdez, he's fantastic. He's the deputy press secretary. He used to work with Matt Gaetz. He used to work with Lauren Boebert. Now he's over at the Pentagon, and he's just doing a great job. What he decided to do was we're going to bring in new media. We're going to bring in independent media who are going to cover the place honestly, but with respect. So you had to sign that you're not going to share classified information with the public and you're not going to ambush people outside the doors. Like you're going to respect that you're in the most secure facility, probably in the world, and comport yourself in that manner. So regular people were let in. A lot of great organizations were let in. Not all far right, not all. They were mischaracterizing it as everybody's going to be sycophantic. I don't think there were any people in there that were fans of the Pentagon, to be honest with you, because MAGA is not a movement that likes war or the military-industrial complex. In fact, I think they're going to find out quite soon. I mean, they have Matt Gaetz in there. Matt Gaetz is really not a fan of the military-industrial complex. They're going to find out there's going to be a lot of hard questions, and that's fine. That's what they want. So there was a briefing yesterday, a public briefing. There was some off-the-record briefings. I got to meet the secretary. I got to meet just about everybody over there, and they're fantastic people. And they answered all the questions we had for them very openly, very honestly, and I look forward to being able to do more of it. I really do. It's fascinating. It's not a role I ever imagined to be a part of, but when you're given that opportunity, you need to make it.
What do you say to people that push back and say, okay, if the media can't share about what they're hearing in the room, what's the point of having the media in there at all?
They can share everything that's not classified.
Okay.
They can share everything. I mean, when you're a reporter, you're told on the record, off the record. If something is off the record, you're not supposed to share it, period. If something is classified information and you share it, that's treason, right? That's another level. It's not off the record and the guy was an asshole and decided to share it. No, imagine Operation Midnight Hammer. Remember that when they went into Iran? Now imagine if they had reported that before and the Iranians knew. How can you do stuff like that? How can you conduct yourself in the Pentagon when you have reporters running around trying to undermine national security, especially when most of these reporters, CNN, ABC, NBC, they hate the administration. They wouldn't hesitate to put lives at risk to make these people look stupid. Look at how they're killing Hegseth now over the strikes in Venezuela because they didn't know if there was 1 or 2 or 3 strikes according to the media. Give me a break. Give me a break. Like, we're talking about fighting a war against narco terrorists, and you're worried about, was there 1 strike or 2 strikes? What about all the people that have been struck down to death in America from fentanyl pouring into the country? Nobody cared about that. When Lloyd Austin went missing for a week, nobody cared about that. Nobody was asked these questions. So it's media bias. That's the problem.
Got it. So Jade, you mentioned before you were in Dearborn. Tell us a little bit, for those that haven't heard, what you were doing there and any outcomes that maybe surprised you.
Well, I decided last minute just to go on my own accord. No one paid me to go. I just thought, fuck it, it's Dearborn. I have to see it for myself because I don't want to just believe what's in the news.
What is the significance of Dearborn?
It's pretty much the Muslim capital of America, 55% Muslim residents. They have the call to prayer, raining through the city. It's intense. So I drove through there with my security, who was 20 years in the Middle East. He was in the army, and he was like, this looks like the beginning of Iran and Iraq before it fell. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, a very interesting perspective. So I interviewed the Muslim leaders of the city, as well as Jake Long, you know him, he's a Jan 6er, and then a couple of other people who were anti-Islam there. They were having a pro-Christian, pro-West, anti-Islam rally, and then the pro-Palestine, pro-Islam group showed up, and there was a clash. People were pepper sprayed, hit. Like I told you, I was recognized, so my guys pulled me out. But, it was fairly peaceful in the beginning. I had great conversations with everyone. I was just pretty surprised by how much it looked like the Middle East.
Wow.
Yeah. But I went on record and I said I don't feel safe here as a woman. If I didn't have my guys with me, I would not be walking around those streets. Absolutely not.
Wow. This brings up another point. What is the story that perhaps you've reported on that's been the most fun or the most interesting for you guys? You've done a fair bit. You are more content, but you're more on the story side too. What would you say the favorite piece of content you've released?
That's tough. I was in London recently, and I did a video of Whitechapel, which is the Dearborn of London, basically. And people tell me all the time how much that changed their minds. Americans who don't know. The English people, in London, we were there for Thanksgiving, and all these people were coming up to me at this pub and saying, wow, I grew up there. You have no idea how much it meant that you highlighted that. But what really gets me is when I travel and do these things, my favorite stuff is to hear the Americans who can't believe it. And they're like, there's no way that was really London. There's no way that was actually London. And I just say, like, look at Dearborn. You don't have to go to London. Just go to Dearborn. Jake did a great job. You did a great job. Jake is a fantastic person, by the way. That man went through hell for 4 years. They had him in solitary. I'm so glad he's out. Trump pardoned him. Jake is a great guy. And that speech he gave at that, were you at the nighttime when he went to talk to those mayors and council people? That speech, if people haven't heard that speech, they should listen to every single word of it and internalize it, because that's critical information.
Okay, I'll take a look. One thing that strikes me as somewhat funny, in Michigan, I forget which town it was called. You'd be able to look it up. I spoke about it on a previous episode. But essentially, they were let's just say, an idol for diversity. And they prompted themselves on having the first ever Muslim mayor. They ended up having a full sort of mayoral group that was completely Muslim. And when they got Muslim majority, the very first thing they did was, they have the biggest pride parade there in Michigan, is they canceled the entire pride parade. So the very
Chickens for KFC.
The very group that was supporting them, kind of like this LGBTQ for Hamas nonsense that we've heard, where they would get thrown off buildings if they were in Palestine for even a second, right? Those are the people that they cut themselves down, essentially, right? I see this a lot with the left, where they shoot themselves in the foot. One of my favorite contradictions I've heard recently is, we've all heard about how, you know, how bad colonialism is, how bad it is that the white people conquered, let's just say America or Australia or whatever. But then we hear that borders don't exist and we should let people into our countries as we want. Is it colonialism if borders don't exist? Or do the borders exist and therefore colonialism was bad? One of them has to be true. This shooting in the foot effect, I don't see, you know what I'm talking about? I don't see how they don't see it. How do they hold both beliefs and not have some understanding that the cognitive dissonance is there? Why? Why do they not see it?
Probably because they're all on SSRIs and they're all mentally ill.
That's 100% part of it. The other part of it is we three have just spent more time thinking about it than they ever have. They don't think about these things because you cannot be a rational person with an IQ above 70 and actually believe the things that a lot of these people believe. It's impossible. You cannot be. I understand if you have a really low IQ, you don't think about things, maybe you can believe everything that they believe. But if you're a rational human being, no way, no chance. You just are fed what you have to hear. And I know many people like that. I hate to tell you, I know many people like that. CNN said it, it must be true. The news said it, the news wouldn't lie. They can't lie. I was told once it's illegal for the news to lie. I said, well, wow, there's going to be a lot of dead newscasters if it's illegal. But like, this is their belief and they won't change it until they're woken up. Until it happens to them, that's when it's going to hit them. A lot of times it'll happen to them as somebody they love, and then they'll realize, oh, wow, I have to hope at least they'll realize because you got to wake people up from this sleep. And I hope it doesn't take something bad. That's my thing. I hate that all these people that get hurt, all these people that get raped, all these people that get killed, it's like, are they dying for nothing if people are still going to vote for the same trash?
Yeah, it's funny how the feminists don't say shit about the women being raped in Europe.
No, it's like they don't even see it. It's scary.
Like, oh, it's part of their culture. You know, they just haven't assimilated
Well,
yet.
then go ahead and sacrifice yourself up for it at that rate. If that's what you want, put yourself on the line. Problem is, they're so hideous, nobody wants them.
One of the quotes that I love about this is it's by Socrates. He said, the consequence of being indifferent to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. And I see this indifference from the left. They don't actually care that much, but they're in echo chambers in Seattle, in LA, and they just kind of say what everybody tells them to say. How do we make them care? We don't want the bad things to happen to them. We don't want personal things to, like, we don't want the rape to occur. We don't want bad policy to do. But how can you wake them up to say this does matter? Charlie Kirk was a great example. He went into campuses and he spoke with them. That turned out to be too hostile and he got killed for it. What's the right answer here?
There's no making anyone do anything they don't want to do. They're going, like Joey's right, they're going to have to come at it, you know, from their own personal experience or someone very close to them getting harmed. They do this out of a place of fear because they don't want to be called racist, Islamophobic. They don't want to be called all these names and shunned from their communities, fired, kicked out of their friendship circles. You know, unfortunately, they're going to have to experience something absolutely horrific. And then we can be like, oh, welcome to the team. Now you're with us. Cool. We're going to protect you over here.
Yeah. And I think actually 80% of them don't even realize they're doing anything wrong or supporting something insane. I think 20% of them are just evil and know what they're supporting and continue to support it anyway. Those at the top.
They're the loud ones.
They're the loud ones. They're the ones in power. They know what this is. You can't tell me that Keir Starmer of the United Kingdom does not know exactly what he's doing right now.
Yeah.
Or these other leaders in Europe that like Macron and people like that. Biden actually didn't know what he was doing. So I don't know what I'll say about him.
Jill
did. Who did?
Jill did.
Jill
his
probably.
wife.
Did you see she was buying lingerie last week?
Oh,
did you
God.
see this story?
I don't want to think about
She was
that.
out shopping for lingerie last week. So that was fascinating, that story. Anyhow.
You know, now that I think
I'm
about
going to go
it,
vomit, pause. But no, the truth is about 20% of them are just evil, but 80% of them really think they're doing the right thing. They really believe, oh my God, these are good people. You know, there's a handful of bad ones. We have to just let everybody coexist and we can all be happy together. And we can't.
Coexisting requires some sort of overlapping without violence. What I mean by that is this. In the US, we have freedom of religion. What happens if the true living out of your religion, let's just hypothetically use Islam, requires you to kill non-believers? What happens then? That's against the law.
Oh, yeah.
So what do we do then? Is it still freedom of religion?
Kill the infidels wherever you may find them.
Surah 929.
Islam is more of a political ideology than a religion.
Yes.
It is. They have their own banks.
Yeah, they have their own banks, they
structure.
have their own law, they have Sharia law.
Mhm.
So, like, when we're talking about Islam, I don't necessarily understand if the Constitution fully covers every aspect of it, simply because there is a set of laws.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
cannot live in a country with a constitution and a set of laws and also have your own set of laws. Christianity has the Ten Commandments. It does not directly contradict any part of local laws.
Well,
Neither
most
does
of
Judaism.
Western laws were based off the Ten Commandments.
Correct.
And, in the United Kingdom, there are at least 82 Sharia courts across England and Wales. So that actually does contradict with the British legal
Yes.
system, quote unquote. And the UK is supposed to be protected by the Human Rights Act, Article 10, which protects free speech. And you've seen that in the UK, they have a bunch of laws against free speech. There's actually more against it than for. And so I wouldn't be surprised if in the UK they actually fully implement Sharia law into the system.
Well, we're seeing this now where people are getting arrested for tweets in the UK. They're who are we thinking of?
We have some questions and
Yeah.
concerns about that.
We're not sure. We're not sure when she goes back what's going to happen. To be honest,
I have been advised by lawyers and several people within the British government that I should not go back right now because I'll probably be detained, interrogated, and arrested. And David Lammy just said, well, we should get rid of jury trials for non-serious crimes. So that means I'd probably go straight to jail.
How did that make you feel? It's your home, and
That
you
makes me
haven't
want to
said
start.
anything.
Okay, I won't say that.
It's hey, free speech exists here.
1776 shall commence again.
I think we should fully absorb the United Kingdom. That should be the 51st state.
Oh my God.
And just kidding, kind of. Yeah, it saddens me because that's my home, and I can't go back for Christmas. So, British government 1, Jade 0 for now.
What's the incentive of governments to allow this? Why, when you see places like San Francisco, is there not incentive to clean up the streets, to take off all of the human feces you see, to stop allowing people to needle up in the middle of the streets, to promote the arresting of... Where is the incentive from the top downs, who do have the power, to keep this going? I never understood this.
They don't care about the public. They don't care about the people. It doesn't affect them. They're in their fancy homes. They have help. They go on vacations. They don't give a shit. No,
And
they're
dissent,
elitists.
dissent is not good for them, and they have to keep with the silencing of people with the tweets. They have to shut people up. With San Francisco, they're going to vote Democrat anyway. Why should they clean up the streets? They have their private drivers, so they're not in touch with us. Citizen leadership is dead. There is a political class, and there's the rest of us, and that is not the same people.
So part of the reason I think that you guys have seen such a massive following is because people don't trust this kind of long-standing media outlets. You guys have an insight into that most of us don't. Tell us a bit about what you've seen with this kind of falling off of the trust of the mainstream media and the rising of people like you.
Mainstream media is boring, number one. I mean, aside from the fact they lie all the time, they're just boring. People want to hear stuff from people that are like them. They want people they can relate to. Who the hell can relate to Wolf Blitzer, who makes how many millions of dollars a year sitting in his ivory tower reporting the news to us peons? Nobody cares about. I don't make any money. I mean, we're not rich people here. We just talk facts, and actually, we'd be a lot richer if we'd shut the hell up.
Exactly.
But it comes at a great cost to sometimes do what we do. But when they talk about mainstream media, they don't talk about people that are actually solving problems. Mainstream media is there to just report problems. I think what makes a difference is we have bias. We're open about it. I'm biased. I report facts, but at the same time, you know where I'm coming from. And that's beautiful. The mainstream media, we are the arbiters of truth. We have no bias. Meanwhile, they're up Biden's ass and every other Democrat's ass for the last 20 years.
And they're funded by Big Pharma.
Exactly.
Things like that.
We're not funded by anybody. I mean, so that's the beauty of it. They want honesty. Now, a lot of our space is becoming funded by various people, but we don't talk about that yet because it's not yet a pervasive problem. It's starting. And when it does start, we're going to have to start talking about it because it cannot become poison just like mainstream was.
That's
Yeah.
podcast episode number 2.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Jade?
Yeah, no, I've been invited to go on the Israel trip, and I put it on my story. I asked a poll and a question box. I was like, should I go, yes or no? And what would you like to see? And I asked my followers, and it was like a 50-50 split of people saying go, don't go. And the comments were actually pretty surprising. People said, we only trust you to go out there and tell us what it's really like in Israel and Gaza. And I was like, wow, that's such a huge compliment, because yes, I am not funded by anyone. I do everything independently, and I value truth and facts above all. And yes, I have sacrificed a lot for that. I'm not getting paid. I'm making far less than I was a few years ago, because of what I've chosen to do. But it's important. It's for the people. It's for the good of our civilization. But yeah, I think mainstream media, legacy media, it's dead. And it's really hard to navigate independent media now. And I'm actually going to be launching my own media platform with my show on it, the Warwick Report. So stay tuned for that. And it will be factually accurate, legally vetted, and you'll know the biases, but we're going to keep it common sense and real talk.
Really looking forward to that.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited to see when will that hit?
I'll let you know.
Okay, beautiful. Keep me updated. The second piece of that is you said there's no money in this. And more that I delve into this, I'm a very new player on the game, I very much see that. Where's the incentive to keep going?
Because where are we going to live if we don't have our countries? Like, what are we going to do in our lives if you can make all the money in the world, if you're going to walk out of your door and it's going to be basically nothing but chaos, and I'm going to not be able to have children because they're going to get raped by Islamic migrants in the street. What am I going to do? So I can make a lot more money doing other things, but where am I going to live? What am I going to do? And how am I going to say to myself, oh, you just let everything go to hell when you were given this opportunity to help change it? I think it would be a waste now. I mean, maybe 5 years ago I could have said, oh, screw it. But now I can't. You're too far in it to go back now. You have to either go down with the ship or die trying.
Jade, same thing?
I feel exactly the same, and I do feel as if this is my mission in life. I think that God has put me on this planet to do what I'm doing, so can't let him down.
Can't let him down. Before we were talking a little bit about some, maybe let's call them contradictions that might occur in the liberal mind. One thing that I love to read to people that are, let's say, my liberal friends, is I say people forget history too quickly. They forget that it was the Democratic Party that started the KKK and the Republicans that abolished slavery. Remember that statue of Robert E. Lee? Yeah, he was a Democrat. Democrats resisted black citizenship and voting. 0% of Democratic congressmen voted for the 14th and 15th Amendment. 100% supported the Japanese internment camp, which essentially jailed 120,000 Japanese Americans, 62% of whom were citizens. Democrats opposed school choice. Democrats introduced eugenics and sterilizations. Who has deported more people in history out of any president? Obama. He also holds the accolade for the most bombs dropped on a foreign nation. Democrats are usually on the wrong side of history. So, if today, on today's normal talking points of Democrats, you believe in castrating children, I say, do you want to be on the wrong side of history again? When I tell people that, they are shocked that the Democratic Party started the KKK or that the Republicans abolished slavery. They just assume that was all on one side. This echo chamber that we live in is so strong. And it occurs on both sides too. If you were born on the right, I just think you were born lucky. But I think this idea of changing sides, I had one guest on the host last week, Anthony Rispo. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Anthony Rispo. Up and coming, he studied at University of Columbia. He's an expert in social psychology. And he was a staunch social justice warrior. And in his social justice warrioring, he realized everything I'm doing is a walking contradiction.
Good for him.
And change sides. So I think there is a path, but I do agree there has to be some sort of trigger that leads to that, let's say, that coming out, that trans ideology from Democratic to Republican.
Yeah.
So when I read you that, what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I think the left is the best at manipulation through empathy. And that's how they're able to, get into the media, entertainment, and manipulate the minds of the masses. Whereas the right tend to be more, I'd say, stoic and less empathetic. And so they really only attract, men. So that's how I think a lot of the social issues are structured. What do you think?
We suck at marketing.
God,
That's
we
what
suck
it
at
is.
marketing.
The right is so bad at marketing their ideas to be palatable. So you look at a lot of the social media posts from people, you look at a lot of the campaigns from people, they're awful. The Mamdani campaign was genius.
Yeah.
That man made himself palatable to people, even though everything he's talking about will destroy New York City. And yet he did it with a smile. He did it with cool, slick videos. Even I would watch the videos. I saw him in March of last year. I said, shit, he's going to win. People thought I was crazy. They said, he'll never win. Of course he's going to win. Look at his stuff and look at Cuomo. Cuomo's whole campaign was, I will change nothing. I will do exactly what Eric Adams did, and I'll touch women while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Like, this was the campaign. Mamdani was fresh, new, and fun. Who's going to win? Of course Mamdani's going to win. And Sliwa, let's not even talk about that campaign. God rest Sliwa's campaign soul.
Terrible campaign, but I kind of would have liked a mobster.
I would have loved Sliwa to be mayor. Are you kidding me? He would have been almost as good as Giuliani. But it would never happen because New Yorkers will not vote for a Republican anymore. All the Republicans, the few that were there, they're gone. They're in Florida enjoying life under Ronald DeSantis. So
the demographics have changed completely in New York, so I doubt they're ever going to vote in a Republican.
No, never again.
So one of the things that I hear Democrats, liberals say a lot is they don't understand how heartless the right can be. Go to town.
Oh,
Who needs a heart?
It's not a,
Not where I was going, but I like it.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying it's not about heart. It's not about heart. When you are running a country, it's not about heart.
Interesting.
You cannot have empathy for everybody. You cannot let people, okay, these people come from a war-torn nation, they'll say, so they have to be let in. Cool, war-torn nation. Why is it war-torn? Maybe because everybody there right now is in a civil war. The Somali mayor race, Omar Fateh did not win because he was from the wrong tribe of Somalians. Do you understand this? A United States race was decided by Somali war tribes. This is not something that you can do. So I'm sorry, Somalia sucks, right? So let's let everybody in. No, you can't have a heart. You can't have a heart with that. Let the people who have hearts not be in leadership. Okay? I'm serious, right?
so I somewhat disagree. I feel like America and any country really as a child, but definitely America because it's one of the newest countries. The Democrats, the liberals, they are the more maternal figure. I think those are the ones with empathy that are going to sort of, coddle victims and go, oh, you poor thing. And then the Republicans, the conservatives, that's the father figure. And yes, your father is supposed to be harder, colder, little heartless, and your mother comes in after and goes, oh, you poor thing. But you need both parents to raise a healthy child. That's what I think.
That's a good analogy.
Thank you.
I like that one.
I
Mom and
sometimes
dad.
have those.
I in this example, I'd prefer a single parent household on the right, but I accept both of them. Okay, so you mentioned that you were on the left for a little bit, or at least you voted left.
I voted left, yeah. I was, okay, let me tell you how I voted for Barack Obama. I was 18 years old. Somebody walked up to me in the street. I was at school in Philadelphia. Somebody walked up and said, you need to register to vote. I said, perfect. I mean, I always knew I would register to vote, right? It's your civic duty. So I registered to vote. Perfect. Wonderful. I watched one of the debates with Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. The meme afterwards was that Mitt Romney wanted to cancel PBS and he wanted to cancel Big Bird. And I said, I liked Big Bird growing up. So I went and I voted for Barack Obama. I'm serious. This is the rationale of your average voter. I have people in my family, I won't name who, they voted for various presidential candidates because they were more handsome than the other presidential candidates. I have people that go down the line in my family and vote for the Italian Americans on the ballot, regardless of party. And this is real stuff.
Oh my God.
So when you talk about voting, a lot of people don't put a lot of thought into it. I'd say more put less thought than people who put more thought. And that's something you have to understand. So when I voted for Obama, it was just, it's Obama. Romney's a lunatic who wants to cancel Sesame Street, and he's Mormon and all these other weird things about Romney. No disrespect to the Mormons, but Obama was a Christian. So I said, let's just vote for Obama. He's the cool guy. And then we saw what happened.
In your best estimation, who's on the ticket for the next presidential ballot? On both sides.
I mean, you're going to have JD, and I don't know who he's going to pick for VP. But on the left, I mean, Newsom wants to run, but such a snake.
But it's hair.
Oh, but
his
he's
hair.
so terribly handsome.
So if the Democrats were smart, it would be Andy Bashir.
Okay,
They're
why?
not, because he can talk to regular people. He can put on the fake face that he's a nice, folksy guy who's going to help everyday Americans. He'll be just as bad as any of them, but he'd put on a great face and he'd get a lot of votes. I think he'd do good. I think Whitmer would do pretty good. But luckily, we're dealing with a really bad party who doesn't let their voters choose, by the way. The Democrat voters don't get to choose the candidates since Obama.
I have as many nominations as Kamala did.
I have more, right? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I do. But no, seriously, Kamala was not chosen by the people. Joe Biden was not chosen by the people. It was a race that was decided by COVID. They just canceled the rest of the primaries when he was pulling ahead. And remember, everybody dropped out that 1 week. Beto dropped. Everybody dropped. That was not chosen by the people. And Hillary, by God, was not chosen by the people. That was promised to her many, many years ago, I think, by Obama.
Wow.
When she became Secretary of State and dropped out early. You remember all that? That was all backroom deals. So I don't know who'll be their candidate. They'll pick. Somebody will pick. It won't be the people. It won't be the Democrat primary voters. As far as our side, I hope Rubio's somewhere on the ticket.
Okay.
I really do. I really do. I love JD Vance. Don't get me wrong. But I hope Rubio's somewhere in there. Rubio is just, he's impressed me so much. Whereas a lot of people, when he was picked for Secretary of State, they say, oh, no, not Marco Rubio. I was happy, and I think we're seeing the results of his work. I think this whole Venezuela thing is a lot of Rubio stuff. I think Rubio, he understands the importance of Latin America and what's going on there and how it affects us up here. And I think it's very critical that Rubio, maybe they just keep him as Secretary of State another 4 years, but I would love him to be higher.
I've heard his name come up a lot more recently. It was always kind of JD assumed, but Rubio's kind of entered that realm. What do we think about Florida's governor? My favorite.
Who's going to win the next race you're talking about?
Should he jump back in?
Oh, DeSantis.
Yeah. I love Ron.
Can he?
Of course, I mean, for 2028, he could. He could run again. If you want Ron, you'll just vote Rubio. Like, Rubio has the gravitas that Ron doesn't, but he'll get the same voters that Ron could. I don't think there's anybody who will be clamoring for DeSantis to get back in. He's been a great governor. I wish he could just permanently stay governor of Florida.
So nice.
Like, or let's
Dictator
go
of
take
Florida.
let's go take Cuba over and give it to Ron.
Okay.
Like, seriously. I mean, there's plenty of stuff we could do for Ron. Ron's great. He's one of the best governors in the country. Whoever advised him to run against Trump should never work again.
I couldn't believe they did that.
No, it's like how he blew up every piece of goodwill he had. It would have been Trump DeSantis if he had not run against him. I truly believe that.
I think you're right, and then he would have been de facto next candidate. And whoever told him that was a bad move. Trump is too big on the Republican side to have a real contender against him.
And if he would have run differently, if he would have said, look, I respect President Trump. He was the best president of our lifetime. I'm running in case they manage to lock him up so I can get in, pardon him, and then he'll get my seat. Do you know how much people would love him still? Instead, half of MAGA hates him and will never, ever, ever, ever consider him again.
Sure.
And I don't hate him. I respect him for everything he's done in Florida. But I think somebody who made such a horrible judgment, I don't know that I would trust them to run the country. If you can mess up that badly on such a simple decision that any one of the three of us could have told him don't do, if you were willing to do that, what would your decision making be on the country?
Sure. So on the left then, Jade, would it be an AOC Bernie ticket?
Oh God, I don't want to think about AOC.
What does she represent? Why did she gain such popularity? She ousted somebody that had real tenure in Congress, and now she's in there. She had about as much experience as this microphone, and then she's running the show now, and she's very loud.
It's just because she's loud and she's annoying, and she doesn't have any stardom, in my opinion. I mean, she just annoys me just as a woman. Like, I don't like her.
How much of it has to do with being pretty? Is that a factor?
Have you seen her horse face?
Hey, don't,
This is a
don't
big
call her
comment.
horse face, okay? People call me horse face. That's my word. Thank you.
She claims the horse face.
Yes.
But is that a factor, right? I think that's an undeniable undergirding factor that led to her propulsion. People, like,
Yes.
men have this desire to help pretty girls. Do you think that played a part?
Yes and no. I mean, men also don't really want women in positions of power.
Also
so
true.
kind of goes against that. I'm not sure.
I think the district was heavily Latino. and she was named Ocasio-Cortez, and the other guy was a boring white guy that ran a horrible campaign. He did 20 years of nothing, like they all do, and she was young and fresh. I think youth plays a lot of part in it. I think youth plays more part in it than beauty, because if you're young, they think you can do stuff. If you're 70 years old walking around decrepit like her guy that she ran against, what's a 70-year-old who's been there 20 years going to relate to me or you? You want somebody who you can see yourself in. And I think you had a Latino voting base. You had a woman who was decently charismatic, and the opponent was boring. So I think that's how she got in. How she stays in, I don't know.
Joey, would you run for office?
I don't know. So we were at dinner last night and some guy came up to me and said, why don't you run against Fitzpatrick? Fitzpatrick is my congressman in Pennsylvania 1, who's horrible. He's doing a horrible job. He votes very, very much with the left, but he's a Republican, technically. He used to work for the CIA or the FBI. I can't remember which one. In any case, he's winning consistently because he had a good brother. His brother was a great congressman. And I don't know how many people realize they're voting for Brian Fitzpatrick instead of Mike Fitzpatrick. I really don't know how many people realize that. In any case, I don't know if I would run or not. I've seen people that I've helped win, right? Because I work in consulting, and they get there and they are miserable because they say everything they wanted to do, they now realize they can't because of leadership or because of some other function that prevents them from doing what they want. So sometimes I feel like I could be more effective not being there. I don't know. Would you run?
Impact as a content creator than actually being in government.
Sometimes, because I know some of these people that are talked really bad about, and I know their heart, and I know who they were before they got in, and I know they hate it, and I know they don't even respect the job they're doing, and I tell them, why don't you say it? Why don't you just say it? Just admit it. And they were like, yeah, but leadership. I mean, it's not about leadership. It's about the people. Would you run? I would love you to run. Yes.
Oh, yes. I would.
Tell us about
because
this.
I wouldn't shut the fuck up. I would still be myself in the position of power, and I'd be calling out everyone. And people can try and blackmail me. I don't care. Send the nudes. That's called revenge porn. Do it.
Fundraising email.
But,
here's my
know,
nudes.
I've been looking at reform in the UK, and that's definitely something I would work towards. My goal in life was always to be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom.
Next Thatcher.
So,
I'm moving there if you become
if
Prime
I
Minister.
move there, we're having a lot of changes.
Yes.
We're renovating the whole house. Thank you.
Excellent.
Yes.
What would it take for you to move back home?
See, that's a tricky one because everything that would be required for that, I would have to do myself in a position of power. So I would move back if I was in the race and if I had a strong backing. I mean, Elon Musk was behind Tommy Robinson. If I could, be involved with that crew and have him backing me, I would move back and I hopefully would win. And then make some changes.
What would you say to somebody that's said the Republican Party is something they'd never consider?
Good. Enjoy your country how you have it. Then. Like, no, seriously, because if they're not going to consider it, you cannot reach everybody. I really firmly believe that there are a group of people you just can't reach, and you waste time trying to do that. So many of our elected officials and are generally the candidates, right? They sit there and they try to, I don't want the left to hate me. I want to be liked by the left. Why? They will never vote for you. At the end of the day, if you put a Republican and a Democrat, they will always choose the Democrat. So why are you trying to be liked by people who are just unable to mentally wrap around the concept of voting for you?
Yeah.
Don't. No, I'm not saying abuse them or do something bad to them, but don't bend over backwards for them. It doesn't make sense. And we see it in many different instances, even in our own government.
The reason I ask is we've just come off of Thanksgiving and there's a lot of family members that don't talk to each other as a result purely of politics, right? This is fracturing of family just because they hold a different view. Most of the time, I don't see people on the right having a problem with having friends who are on the left.
Nope.
It's 100% of the time, vice versa.
I dated a vegan once.
How'd that go?
It went fine. She was beautiful. She was great. But I don't care. As long as you're respectful, be respectful.
Yeah. I mean, the tolerant party are not very tolerant of other people's views. They're extremely close-minded, and there's no getting through to those people. You have to just love them at a distance, unfortunately. But the thing is, if we all agreed with the same things, we wouldn't really get much done. Life would be pretty boring. So at least have them there for entertainment value.
I love it. So there's people watching that have followed you guys for a long time, and they would love to do what you do. Now, today you've told me there's no money in this, right? You're doing this for the love of the game. What advice would you give people that want to start doing kind of what you guys are doing?
Use a fake name. No, I'm dead serious. Completely dead serious. Really? Do not use your real government name. The thing I regret the most is that people know my name. Not because I'm ashamed of what I'm saying, because I have family in America. All your addresses are public. I really suggest if you do this, be very careful. Number one, understand going in, you're going to lose a lot of people, and be prepared for that. A lot of people say, I didn't think it would happen to me. It always will. It always will. Mm-hmm. Number two, do not ever, 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 ever rely solely on this as a form of income or as a form of your self-worth or anything like that. Keep this always as secondary, because this is not my primary income. If it was, we'd be living in this studio or something. I don't know what I'd be doing. But no, you just have to be very careful. And for the love of God, use a different name. Use your middle name if you have to. Do whatever. You just don't make it so easy for these people to send. They send pizza boxes to my family's house all the time, and they say pay cash. The pizza shops don't deliver to my family's houses anymore because they know it's just, they get pizzas all the time. You got to pay cash. You ordered cash. They don't deliver anymore to my family.
I mean, this sounds like a win.
I don't know if that's a win. Some people like pizza. My father liked pizza once upon a time. No, you got to be very careful. You have to proceed as though you're going to have millions of followers and act accordingly.
Sure.
Yeah,
Jim?
Safety first, and then be genuine. Don't say things you don't believe in. That's compelled speech. And stay true to your values. Stay honest. And don't get scared. I mean, if you're naturally a scared person, you definitely shouldn't be in this arena, because you will get daily death threats. I do.
IG's full of them?
Pardon?
IG is full of them?
Oh yeah, not just IG. Everything.
Go to Twitter.
Emails, Twitter, everything. People call me a whore, they call me a whatever it is, and joke's on them. I have a degradation kink. I'm just kidding. But just don't have thin skin, because you won't make it.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is required to make something like what you're talking about? This potential show that you're going to start up?
Anonymous investors that believe in the message and want to help. They're going to be the ones behind the scenes, and I'll just be the scapegoat for everything.
Do you fear that will affect your speech? That they're going to want to push stories that
it's in the contract. They cannot own any IP, and they do not have any voting rights. If they believe in me, they believe in the First Amendment. That's free speech, and I will protect that and honor that as a citizen, and they have to respect that too.
Well, I'm looking forward to tuning into the Jade Warwick show.
Thank you. Well, the Warwick Report.
The Warwick Report, of course. Yes, of course. Same thing for you. What would be required for you to go full-time on this? You mentioned don't, but what would be required?
What would be required? I mean, I don't know what would be required. I like what I do. I like what I do even part-time, right? I like doing this. To me, it's all one. To me, with the consulting, people call me to help them because they like what I have to say. So it's all one thing. I don't know that I would stop doing it. I would be bored. It doesn't take much time to do what we do, right? It's like, I would be bored if I didn't do other things as well. So I think you can't make all the change you want to do doing this. So you got to help campaigns. You got to help. I have fun doing what I do. I don't do this for any other reason than I really believe in it and I really love it. So I would not do anything differently. If somebody wants to invest and help me make things more professional, I would never turn it down, obviously. But it's not necessarily. I have people come to me every so often and say, we'll invest. I don't even know what the hell to tell them to invest in. I need to learn. No, seriously, I need to really learn, but I don't know.
So you mentioned this consulting side of your life.
Yeah.
That obviously will give you some insight into things that other people wouldn't see, because they're asking you about probably pretty sensitive things. without talking about things you can't talk about, what are things you've learned or seen about that political side of the world that other people like me might miss?
That there's so much freaking money involved in the decisions that people make. It would make your head spin, and it'll make you realize that it's just gonna require the people to make the change they want. The politicians will not and cannot do it. They cannot do it. They are all beholden to somebody else, not necessarily the lower levels, not necessarily the members you love, like the Anna Paulina Lunas, the Lauren Boberts. These people are not bought off, okay? We're not talking about them. I'm talking about when you get to rungs and rungs and rungs on the ladder higher than them that have to clear the things that they would want to do. They can only do so much.
Wow.
So when we talk about the Republican Party's ineffective, I can name you 50 members right now who, if they were left to their own devices, they would have this country in tip-top shape in a month. There's people at the top who just won't allow it. And I don't know who they answer to. I don't have that answer. But I know they answer to somebody because you've seen them change. And it's very, very sad. And it just makes you realize if the people don't lead the change, no change is coming. The politicians will not save you.
I always hear about this ominous hierarchy where the people at the top are the ones in charge and we never know how deep it goes. They say follow the money, but when you follow the money, it normally leads back to someone like Musk, who's the richest man in the world. But he's kind of been ousted with his recent feud with Trump. So in your best estimate, where is this hierarchy peaking? Maybe a candidate of people or one person. Where is this going? If you're willing to say.
I think we all know the answer. We're just not going to say it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, there's no one answer. There's no one group of people. There's no one person. It's a conglomerate of people, and they are so powerful that they can't fight all of us, right? They can't fight all of us, but they can fight most of us. So you just have to be really careful how you go about it. But the people have to lead the change. It won't come from the politicians. When it's 400 people in a room, you can buy 400 people.
Yeah, and what this evil
You can't buy 300
elite,
million.
Yeah, what this evil elite class do is they get us fighting among ourselves so that we don't fight them. So we really need to stop, focusing on our trivial differences. Like you talk about the Christians. Oh, what are you, Catholic? You Orthodox? Shut up. You're on the same team,
Yes.
and there's one group of people who are against, and we need to figure out our differences and focus on the real enemy.
Well, let's leave it with this. One more question. If there's one thing you want people to walk away from, one thing they should remember in their day-to-day lives, kind of the tie around your wrist kind of memory, what's one thing that you guys carry with you as just a reminder, right? Maybe that's the freedom of speech piece. Maybe that's some truth. Is there something you'd want people to know?
I just want people to know that they can actually have a voice much easier. I never, ever intended to have a voice like that. I never wanted to necessarily do anything to make that kind of change. It was brought to you, and if you're brought that opportunity, you take that opportunity, and you don't just make it be trivial, because you have to fight for everything you get, right? So if you fought, you don't stop fighting just because it gets hard. And trust me, I could quit so easily with the things I read, the things that have happened to people in my life because of me. You just have to keep going because you can actually make change. I've seen instances where things have changed because of things I've done and things I've said, and people have reached out and really changed their perspective because of things I've done. That means more to me than anything.
It does make a difference.
It does make a difference. It does. What we do makes a difference. It really does. And that's beautiful to know and see.
Yeah,
Jade?
for me, physically, I wear my cross, which was my grandmother's cross, and I wear a sword above it because I have my beliefs and I want to live as kindly as I can. But sometimes you have to fight to defend what you believe in. So that's a permanent reminder for me. But mentally, I'd say work through the energy of love. Don't work through fear. Whenever you make a decision, it goes back to, are you doing this from a place of love or fear? Everything I do is because I love my people, I love my family, and I love my countries. I want them to prosper. It's not, oh, I fear this and I fear that. We can't do that. We're not going to get anything done if you work from fear. Work from love, and that will take you very far.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining me today. I look forward to number 2 when we come back to DC and the Pentagon does something. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us.